And from the Big Sky Studios in King's Cross to our little This Week studio here in Westminster. Martin Lewis, welcome.
Thank you.
And look who we found outside. It's only controversial UKIP suspendee and Thorn and Farage's side. Suzanne Evans, welcome
Hello.
back. Now, Martin, you say that there are no hard facts. No one can predict what will happen to the economy. Many trying to make out they can. Can't tell what's going to happen to house prices. But you also say that a vote for Brexit is unquestionably the economically riskier. Why?
I say riskier, but in its genuine sense. Risk, when you talk in financial terms, can be a good thing. People go for high-risk options because they hope for a good reward, but at a chance that they'll lose out. And that's what this is. It could work for us and it may not. And I think my summary, but within the economic centre, is if you are not willing to take the risk that things could get worse, you should vote in. If you are willing to take the risk that things could get worse in the hope that they will get better, then you should probably vote out. But risk isn't a bad thing in the true sense. I know that the common parlance is that, but it isn't. It's a measure of variance. And there's no, of course, the future isn't certain if we stay in either, but it's more uncertain if we leave.
So it's like putting your money in a savings account or in a hedge fund.
Yeah, and a hedge fund might beat it, but you might lose money too. It's exactly like that.
But you could lose it all as well. The EU, I think it's fair to say, the EU is mired in troubles at the moment, particularly the Eurozone. So there could be risks of staying in as well.
There are certainly risks of staying in. There's no question there are risks of staying in. But in terms of general, what we know will happen, there's more stability. And, you know, it's interesting. You watch the debate and people talk about the pound dropping on the back of a Brexit vote. Yes, of course it is, because a Brexit vote is an uncertain vote. And there's nothing in markets hate more than uncertainty. What we don't know is whether that would be a short-term shock for a few months on the back of big change not good for markets, or whether it be a much longer economic downturn, which is what many of the experts are predicting. I think probably in short and medium term we would have some real negatives. I suspect longer term, though, it would move back to equilibrium if you're talking 20, 25 years. So it is a very difficult one to call. But again, I don't want anyone to think I'm saying I know.
I understand.
I don't know.
You would expect the pound to be a little bit weak if you've got the Prime Minister and the Chancellor running down our prospects, wouldn't you?
Well, yeah, you would expect the pound to be weak in the midst of this debate when you see the spittle.
Though it's actually higher than it was when the referendum was called.
Yeah, but the pound's, you know, you've got all the other issues that affect the pound that's going on. And I'll tell you the one thing, I watched the debate tonight, and I have to say...
There's one on ITV.
The one that what really annoyed me, on every single question from every member of the audience, the Remain campaigners made out that question, whether it was immigration or sovereignty or the economy, the Remain campaigners made out that staying in the EU was good on that subject, and the Leave campaigners made out that leaving the EU would be good on that subject. And the truth is, we all know there are some goods or some bads, and you need to weigh them up. And that's what I think, that's why the public aren't trusting politicians on this, because they're making it binary. And it's a binary vote, but it's not a binary argument.
Michael, uncertainty, fear of the unknown. That is the Leave campaign's biggest problem, is it not?
I don't know that it is. I mean, I think they've not put it very well. I mean, the first thing I would say is, you know, over the last 2 years, what have we seen? The greatest achievement of the European Union is the creation of the euro. The euro has been an extremely hazardous undertaking. The euro has been in danger of collapsing. Member states have been in danger of leaving it. It has created mass unemployment in southern Europe. It has plunged Europe as a whole into negative growth. You have to put these two things together. You know, if you have free movement of people and you create mass unemployment in southern Europe by having the euro, what's going to happen? Migrants are going to move to northern Europe where the jobs are. This is all part of a political plot. You see, one would have more confidence in the European economy if it were being run as an economy, but it's not. It's being run as a political project. The invention of the euro is nothing to do with good economics. It is about creating a European state, and its consequences in the short term, medium term, possibly long term, are economically disastrous. So there are clearly enormous risks in remaining attached to this economy.
Suzanne, isn't the problem, though, of uncertainty, a fear of the unknown? Is that clearly a bigger step if we vote to leave than vote to remain? Is that leave... It's difficult for your side to give us a clear idea or even agree a picture of what it would be like to be out.
It is difficult because, of course, it's naturally human nature to want to avoid change. And particularly if you're somebody who's comfortable, if you're not somebody who's struggling to find a job, a young person who can't get a job, somebody in a working class community is trying to get that entry job on minimum wage, and you're facing competition from Eastern European migrants or wherever it might be, it's very easy for you to think, oh, well, my life's not too bad. Why should we take the risk? But as Martin says, it's a calculated risk. You know, and calculated risks are good things. And nobody would get anywhere in business. Our economy wouldn't thrive if there weren't people that were prepared to take a slight risk.
We don't quite know what the future holds. It's not quite calculated because we just don't know. Maybe better, as Martin says, it could be better, it could be worse. We don't quite know.
But as Michael's also said very eloquently, we don't know what Remain looks like as well, because that's the whole point about the European Union. It's never produced a manifesto and said, right, this is where we're going, this is where we're headed. It's always actually been quite secretive about its ultimate plans and its ultimate destiny.
But surely we have less variance. We have a better picture of what Remain would be like on the 24th of June than we do what leaving would be like on the 24th. You have to accept that. Remember, I'm not saying risk is a bad thing, but I mean, just common sense says there is more uncertainty if we have this seismic change to our political structure.
Let me bring Liz in, because given the weight of economic opinion in your side of Remain, isn't it surprising the polls are so tight?
No, it's not. Because there's one thing I've seen change over the last couple of weeks is how people are looking at their lives over the last 5-10 years, changes in the way the economy has worked even before the crash, and the EU is ending up being the thing that people are looking at and questioning over all sorts of issues. It's a referendum on the government's record, it's a referendum on the way the economy works and the fact that most people weren't seeing the benefits of growth in the economy way before the crash, and all of this is getting muddled up. And, you know, it is a very difficult question for certainly both sides to deal with. We don't know with certainty what will happen if we remain, and we should admit that, but we do have more of a sense of what it would look like, and there is far more risk if we pull out. But we shouldn't be. I think you're right. It's one of the funny things in politics. You know, when you're talking to your own side and your own people, they like that passion, total certainty. But most people, if you're actually talking to them on the doorstep, if you do a bit of give and take and understanding, they're more likely to listen. And this is the other thing that's happened is, there is a sense now, it's not just that people don't trust politicians, it's almost like any expert, any of the elites, anyone with experience, that is all being questioned. And again, that is a longer term trend.
I think you raised...
People don't trust everyone,
I get
from
that.
broadcasters to business.
No, we get all that, but I think you raise a very interesting point, because it seems to me that in the next 2 weeks there's going to be two forces at work. In most referenda, there is a kind of move to the status quo in the final days. Didn't happen in Scotland, but that was the exception. Most referenda there is. On the other hand, there's precisely this mood that Liz is talking about, that this referendum is taking place. It's an anti-establishment, anti-mainstream, anti-established voices. Which one's going to win? Because that will determine the outcome.
Well, I always think we're going to win. I'm absolutely confident we are. And part of the reason I'm so confident about it is because I think we had the government, up until the end of Purdah, just chucking everything it possibly could, spraying, scaremongering, frightening bullets left, right and centre.
So you're not worried about this return to the status quo?
No, I think people have actually begun to see through it, and I think they really are wanting change now. It's been a drip. It's not quite what Liz said. It's not a sudden change. This has been a drip theme for 44 years. Really.
I think the Remain side spent a lot of their bullets too early, the Obama, the G7, and people have forgotten those things now. But I had an interesting chat with a neighbour of mine, and I was just talking to him about it, and I said, you know, I asked him, where are you? And, and he said, I'm 60% out, and I think I'm going to vote in, because I think you have to be 65% out to vote out.
But that's the move to the status quo.
And that is, and I think that happens perhaps when you're putting your X on the form. But I mean, I have to say, if I look at my social media feeds and people coming into me at the moment, I would say that that's looking more an outvote than an invote. But there will be some bounce back to the status quo at the vote.
Just.
Personally,
Just,
I
right?
weighed it up, and I'm not calling anyone. Those leaflets, by the
No,
way,
I
with my
get all
face
that.
on.
No,
I just need to say, I
just
didn't
wanted
approve
yes
the
or
leaflets.
no.
I'm 55% in, 45% out.
Oh, see,
Room for
see if
manoeuvre.
you side.
No move for manoeuvre. I'm decided, but just in
Thank you
on a
very
risk
much.
analysis.
Thank you.